Wolf, out in theaters, new art house film directed by Natalie Biancheri, starring George McKay, Lily Rose Depp, and Paddy Considine. It's a really, really weird indie film, which is about, well, it's kind of difficult for me to even understand what it's actually meant to be about. The surface level story is this: a young man named Jacob, played by George McKay, has a disorder which makes him believe he is actually a wolf, an animal locked in the body of a human. He's drawn to being in nature, he has these urges to walk around on all fours, not wear clothes, and howl at the moon during the night, and so on. He gets committed to a facility with a number of other kids like him. There's a boy who thinks he's a dog, there's a girl who thinks she's a parrot, another boy that thinks he's a squirrel. In short, there are a bunch of very unusual characters, but very quickly it turns out that the doctors, the people who are meant to treat them, don't exactly seem sane either. In fact, the main doctor gradually reveals himself to be a truly sadistic, cruel, and abusive person. And so Jacob is thrown into the situation, and the only solace for him seems to be another patient, a girl behaving like a wildcat. So, as I said at the beginning, I find it difficult to understand what the movie is actually trying to be. At the beginning, it seems to have this idea, this premise, and then going from there, it has a purpose and direction, which made me think a little bit of The Lobster and a little bit of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But then as time went on, I felt it kind of loses track. It goes off the rails and becomes harder and harder to process. And so, is it meant to be a concept thriller with elements of dark comedy, or a drama which is an exploration of identity and the person's desire to maintain it and preserve it in the face of people telling you not to? Or is it a metaphor for something else entirely? Or maybe it's just an extended acting exercise? Because performance-wise, it is quite interesting, particularly George McKay. He really gets into the role. It's a very physical performance where he's walking around on all fours and howling, and moments when his wolf persona take over are certainly pretty engrossing. There's also a scene between him and the wildcat girl, which is, I think, one of the weirdest erotic scenes I've seen, with both of them sort of prowling around each other, smelling and sort of purring at one another. It's certainly something. But aside from those performances, I didn't really find enough solid substance in the movie that would leave a lasting impression. It did at times feel just like an exercise, an interesting concept, but without a solid idea of what to do with it, how to develop it, and into what. So as much as I like unusual films, this one didn't quite work for me.